A Tyler woman is taking her fight against those flock cameras to the people. She hosted a public meeting in Tyler tonight.
She is pushing to get those automated license plate readers removed from Smith County. Our Zori Jones was there for the discussion.
All of the commissioners can hear that my constituents have something to say about this.
Tyler resident Robin Wright led this meeting and has spent the past month collecting signatures, calling on Smith County to remove flock cameras. Every day, thousands of drivers in Smith County pass license plate reader cameras without giving them a second. But Wednesday's night meeting in Tyler put those cameras at the center of the community debate as residents question whether the cameras protect neighborhoods or invade privacy.
Today was really an informational meeting. I think that's one of the first steps of getting these cameras removed, is getting the people of Smith County to understand the true capabilities of these cameras and what they actually can do and what the vulnerabilities for the system are.
DeFlock Tyler organized the meeting, walking attendants through presentations, videos, and a Q&A on how flock safety cameras operate in Smith County.
Flock safety relies on people not knowing the true capabilities of their cameras, and it relies on the misinformation that it only tracks license plates and it doesn't use facial recognition, when in their patent it does.
Flock Safety says its cameras capture time-stamped images of vehicles, not drivers, giving law enforcement investigative leads to solve crimes, recover stolen vehicles, and find missing people. Zori Jones, KLTV 7 News.
Wright says more than 1,300 people have signed that petition. She plans to present those signatures to Smith County Commissioner's Court and is urging people to contact their commissioners directly.